He wasn't playing music. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't even moving. Just standing on his own porch as the sun slipped behind the trees. Quiet, still, at peace. Yet somehow that silence became disturbing. Within minutes, flashing lights painted his walls red and blue, and neighbors peeked through curtains whispering words they'd never say aloud. The question they didn't ask was the one that mattered most. Why did quiet from a black man sound like trouble? Tonight we uncover how silence, something so ordinary, turned into a reason to call the police. It was a quiet Saturday morning, the kind that felt like a reward after a long week. Marcus had just brewed his favorite dark roast, the smell of coffee drifting through the open windows of his neatly kept home. He'd spent years saving for this place, a small piece of calm in a neighborhood he'd worked hard to call his own. Birds trilled outside, leaves rustled softly, ordinary peace. He set out a folding chair on the porch, phone in hand, scrolling through weekend plans and messages. Neighbors walked dogs, joggers passed by. Nothing unusual. Yet behind a set of closed blinds across the street, someone watched, twisting that peace into suspicion. Minutes later, the soundless morning would crack, proof that even silence could be mistaken for defiance. At first, Marcus didn't notice the patrol car inching past his driveway, slow enough to feel deliberate, fast enough to seem routine. He was still sitting on the porch, sipping what was left of his coffee, scrolling through his phone. Then another car followed, this one pulling to the curb. Two officers stepped out, glancing at each other in that silent exchange that says something's off. Marcus straightened, confused. He hadn't called for help. No one around seemed in danger. The taller officer gestured toward his porch as if spotting evidence of a crime invisible to anyone else. "Sir, we got a call about a disturbance." Marcus blinked. A disturbance? The only sound was the low hum of morning traffic and a few sparrows quarreling over crumbs in the gutter. He told them he lived there, that he was simply enjoying some quiet. Their eyes didn't soften. One hand brushed the radio on a shoulder strap. The other hovered near a holster. Neighbors began to peer out again, some pretending not to. Curtains twitched. Phones glowed in discreet hands. Marcus felt the weight of dozens of unseen judgments pressing on his back. The quiet he once loved now wrapped around him like a trap. When he tried to step off his porch, a sharp, "Stay right there," sliced the air. And there it was, the shift. The line invisible to everyone else but painfully clear to him. He'd gone from homeowner to suspect without taking a single step. The officer's questions multiplied. "What are you doing here?" "Can we see ID?" His explanation, "This is my house," seemed to dissolve before reaching their ears. Each answer only made the silence stretch tighter, thicker, more dangerous. Marcus's pulse hammered. He remembered every headline he'd ever read about moments like this, the ones that started calm and ended in chaos. His chest tightened as one officer circled behind him, footsteps crunching on the gravel path he'd laid himself just months earlier. Then came another sound, the faint click of a radio response. Dispatch confirming his address, his name, his right to be there. And still, the tension didn't fall away. Not right away. The officers hesitated, lingering, checking eyes that hadn't trusted, but now searched for proof that they should. When they finally nodded and turned back toward their car, the block seemed to exhale. Doors reopened. Curtains fell back into place. Marcus stood still, trying to understand how silence had almost betrayed him. But as the patrol car rolled off and his reflection stared back from the window pane, one thought lodged deep. What happens next time when even silence isn't safe to keep? The moment should have been over. The officers had turned back toward their cruiser, and Marcus had finally started to breathe again. But then one of them paused, halfway to the door, radio crackling at his shoulder. Something came through, garbled, sharp. He turned, scanning Marcus again, eyes narrowing as if the quiet man on the porch had somehow changed in the span of 10 seconds. "Sir, stay where you are. We need to confirm something." The words hit like a hammer. His stomach dropped. Again? He froze, every muscle tense, forcing his hands where they could be seen. The neighborhood watched, their driveways lit by early sun, their judgment cloaked in safety. Someone was filming now. A lens caught him between truth and assumption. One officer stepped closer, hand edging near his weapon, the other murmuring into the radio. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat louder than anything else. Birds scattered. Tires hissed in the distance. The world had shrunk to a porch, 2 guns, and a man trying not to breathe too loud. In that split instant, he understood how people disappeared in news stories, how a single misunderstanding became a legacy written by others. Every lesson his parents had taught him about survival played in his mind. Stay calm, comply, don't reach, don't argue, don't blink wrong. But inside, something rebelled. Why must stillness be proof of innocence? Why must silence be explained to be believed? The second voice over the radio finally confirmed, subject clear, lives at that address. No criminal record, no threat. Nothing, except a man existing where someone thought he didn't belong. The officers exchanged one last look and walked away, offering no apology, just the hollow echo of departing boots. The flashing lights dimmed as if the world had switched off a warning it never should have sounded. Marcus didn't move for a long time. Coffee gone cold, heart still racing. And under the weight of that silence, one truth burned bright. His peace had a price, and it wasn't one he'd ever agreed to pay. When the last siren faded into the distance, Marcus stood beneath a sky that felt different, quieter, heavier. The porch light flickered against his face, catching the faint tremor in his hands. He went inside, locking the door out of instinct, though what he really wanted to lock out couldn't be kept beyond a threshold. Silence, once his refuge, now echoed as memory, the sound of suspicion, the weight of someone else's fear. Later, he replayed everything, the call, the questions, the eyes that refused to see him. It wasn't just humiliation. It was exhaustion etched into his bones. Still, he knew that walking away from it, pretending it hadn't happened, only let the story repeat. So he did the hardest thing. He spoke. At a community meeting, online, to his friends. His words broke the quiet that nearly erased him. The video someone took that morning spread across screens and timelines. A man on his own porch being asked to prove he belonged there. Marcus hadn't asked for it to go viral, but somewhere, someone watched and recognized themselves in his stillness, in his restraint, in that unspoken plea to be left in peace. Every share was both validation and heartbreak. Because each view meant another person realizing this wasn't an isolated moment. It was part of a pattern carved deep into everyday life. The kind that teaches some people that safety isn't guaranteed even inside their own homes. Marcus still keeps that folding chair on his porch. But every time he sits, the air feels heavier, the silence less welcoming. He stays anyway, reclaiming what's his, one quiet morning at a time. And the next time you see flashing lights in a place they shouldn't be, ask yourself, whose peace has just been mistaken for a threat?